the sweltering heat of an August day in 2013, the sun began to set over the quiet suburbs of San Diego, casting long shadows and a sense of foreboding over the Anderson household. Hannah, a lively teenager with dreams larger than life itself, was blissfully unaware of the harrowing fate that awaited her. Her world was about to shatter, altering the course of her life forever. The evening was supposed to be one of goodbyes, tinged with the melancholy of parting. James DiMaggio, a close family friend, known affectionately as Uncle Jim to Hannah, had invited her family for a farewell dinner. He was moving to Texas, he said, to start anew amidst financial turmoil. The Andersons, entwined in a deep friendship with DiMaggio for years, couldn't refuse this last supper. As the Anderson family, minus Hannah, who was still at cheerleading practice, approached DiMaggio's house, they were greeted by the familiar, comforting sight of their friend. Little did they know, the home that once symbolized safety and friendship had transformed into a den of unspeakable horror. DiMaggio's demeanor was calm, but his mind was a tumultuous sea of dark thoughts. Underneath the facade of a kind-hearted friend and confidant lurked a man on the brink of committing an unfathomable crime. As Christina Anderson, Hannah's mother, and her young son Ethan stepped into the house, their fate was sealed. The evening unfolded with an eerie normalcy at first, but as darkness enveloped the house, DiMaggio's true intentions emerged. In a chilling turn of events, he turned on the family he had known for years. With cold precision, he subdued Christina and Ethan, binding them with duct tape, their pleas for mercy echoing unheard in the confines of the garage. The quiet neighborhood, accustomed to the mundane routines of suburban life, remained oblivious to the nightmare unfolding within the walls of DiMaggio's home. Meanwhile, Hannah, still at practice, was completely unaware that her life was about to be thrown into chaos. As the night wore on, DiMaggio's plan unfolded with sinister accuracy. He murdered Christina and Ethan in cold blood, a heinous act that would soon send shockwaves through the community and beyond. The family dog, an innocent bystander, also fell victim to his rage. With the house now a scene of unspeakable tragedy, DiMaggio awaited Hannah's arrival, ready to enact the next phase of his diabolical plan. The stage was set for a story of survival, resilience, and the unbreakable spirit of a young girl caught in a web of deceit and madness. Little did Hannah know, as she stepped out of practice and into the fading light of the evening, that her life was about to change forever. The familiar streets she traversed so many times before were now leading her to an encounter with pure evil, disguised in the mask of a trusted family friend. The stage was set, the players in place, and the curtain was about to rise on one of the most harrowing tales of survival in modern times. Hannah Anderson's story was just beginning. As the night cloaked the city in its dark embrace, Hannah Anderson, her heart filled with the lightness of youth, made her way to James DiMaggio's house. She was oblivious to the fact that the evening she envisaged, a warm gathering filled with laughter and farewells, was nothing but a shattered illusion. Upon arrival, the unsettling silence of the house sent a faint shiver down her spine. The usual warmth and joviality that greeted her on previous visits were conspicuously absent. Instead, a chilling emptiness hung in the air, a prelude to the nightmare that awaited. DiMaggio, once a figure of comfort and trust, now wore a mask of deceit. His eyes, which once sparkled with kindness, now reflected a sinister intent. As Hannah stepped into the house, she was gripped by an unspoken fear, a sense of dread that she couldn't quite place. Before she could process the eerie atmosphere, DiMaggio sprang into action. With a swift and terrifying efficiency, he subdued Hannah, binding her wrists and feet. The very hands that had once offered friendship and care were now instruments of terror and control. As Hannah struggled against her restraints, the harrowing truth dawned upon her. She was at the mercy of a man she had once considered family. The betrayal stung deeper than the physical restraints that bound her. Tears blurred her vision as the gravity of her situation sank in. Meanwhile, The fire that DiMaggio had set to his house began to consume everything in its path. The flames, like a living entity, devoured the house, erasing the evidence of the gruesome acts committed within its walls. As the fire raged, a thick cloud of smoke rose into the night sky, a silent testament to the horror that had transpired. DiMaggio, with Hannah in tow, fled the scene, leaving behind a trail of destruction and sorrow. They journeyed into the night, with Hannah's fate hanging precariously in the balance. Her mind raced with fear and confusion, trying to piece together the reasons behind DiMaggio's unthinkable actions. As they drove through the night, the city lights faded into the distance, and the vast, unforgiving wilderness of Idaho loomed ahead. DiMaggio's plan was clear. He intended to vanish into the wilderness, taking Hannah with him. In the solitude of the wilderness, far from the prying eyes of civilization, DiMaggio revealed his twisted fantasies and delusions. He spoke of a life together, away from the world, a delusion he had nurtured in the darkness of his mind. Hannah, despite her fear, clung to her inner strength. She knew she had to survive, to hold on to the hope of escape. Each passing moment was a test of her resilience, a battle against the despair that threatened to engulf her. As the sun rose over the rugged Idaho landscape, Hannah and DiMaggio ventured deeper into the wilderness. Unbeknownst to them, the wheels of justice were already in motion, with a massive manhunt underway. The stage was set for a dramatic confrontation, a battle between good and evil in the heart of the wild. In this unforgiving terrain, where the law of nature reigned supreme, Hannah's struggle for survival continued. It was a test of her will against the madness of her captor, a fight for her very soul in the depths of the wilderness. As dawn broke over the rugged landscape of Idaho, the serene beauty of the wilderness stood in stark contrast to the turmoil churning within Hannah Anderson. She was now a prisoner in a vast, open prison, with James DiMaggio as her relentless warden. The once familiar face of a family friend had transformed into the visage of a deranged captor, his intentions as mysterious as the dense forests that surrounded them. Back in San Diego, the smoldering ruins of DiMaggio's house served as a grim beacon, alerting the world to the tragedy that had unfolded. The discovery of Christina and Ethan's remains among the ashes sent shockwaves through the community, turning the missing persons case into a nationwide manhunt. The brutal nature of their deaths painted a haunting picture of the peril Hannah was in. Hannah's father, Brett Anderson, his face etched with grief and fear, made a heart-wrenching plea on national television. His message was simple yet powerful: to bring his daughter back home safely. His words resonated with millions, stirring a collective desire to save the young girl from her abductor. As the news of the kidnapping spread, the FBI and local law enforcement agencies mobilized a massive search operation. The hunt for DiMaggio and Hannah became a top priority, with hundreds of officers combing through potential leads and sightings. The vast and treacherous wilderness of Idaho posed a formidable challenge, but the resolve of the search teams was unyielding. In the wilderness, Hannah's ordeal continued. DiMaggio, increasingly paranoid and erratic, kept her under constant watch. He spun tales of a delusional future together, believing they were destined to be together. Hannah, struggling to make sense of the madness, fought to maintain her composure, her mind racing for ways to escape. Each day in captivity was a test of Hannah's resilience. She was forced to adapt to the harsh conditions of the wild, her every move monitored by DiMaggio's watchful eyes. Despite the overwhelming fear and uncertainty, a spark of defiance flickered within her. Hannah knew she had to stay strong, to wait for the right moment to make her move. Meanwhile, the search teams worked tirelessly, piecing together clues and following up on leads. The vast Idaho wilderness, with its dense forests, steep mountains, and hidden valleys, offered countless hiding places. But the searchers were determined, their efforts fueled by the hope of bringing Hannah home. As the search intensified, a breakthrough came. A group of horseback riders in the Idaho backcountry reported a sighting, a man and a young girl fitting the descriptions of DiMaggio and Hannah. The writers noted something unsettling about the pair, an unease that lingered long after their encounter. Their report reinvigorated the search efforts, narrowing the focus to the rugged wilderness areas of Idaho. In the isolation of the wild, DiMaggio remained oblivious to the dragnet closing in around them. His grip on reality was slipping, his actions becoming more unpredictable. For Hannah, the situation was reaching a critical point. She knew that her chances of survival depended on her ability to outwit her captor. As the sun set on another day in the wilderness, the search teams prepared for a renewed push. Helicopters scanned the terrain from above, while ground teams navigated the challenging landscape. The race against time to save Hannah was reaching its climax, with every passing hour critical. In this remote corner of the world, where nature's law reigned supreme, a battle of wits, will, and survival unfolded. Hannah, caught in the eye of the storm, held on to hope, her spirit unbroken despite the odds. The stage was set for a dramatic showdown, a final confrontation between the forces of good and the depths of human depravity. In the heart of Idaho's wilderness, the manhunt for James DiMaggio and the rescue of Hannah Anderson reached a fever pitch. As law enforcement and rescue teams converged on the area, the tension in the air was palpable. Time was of the essence, and every moment that passed brought its own set of fears and anxieties. Hannah, now a pawn in DiMaggio's twisted game, found herself teetering on the edge of despair. Yet in the depths of her fear, a resilient spirit endured. She had witnessed the darkest sides of humanity, but refused to let it extinguish her hope. Her resolve to survive, to see her father and friends again, kept her going in the face of overwhelming odds. DiMaggio, sensing the net closing in, grew increasingly paranoid. He was a man driven to the brink, his mind clouded by delusion and desperation. The wilderness, once his chosen sanctuary, now felt like a closing trap. His grip on reality was slipping, and with it, his control over the situation. Meanwhile, the search teams, aided by tips from the public and advanced technology, scoured the rugged terrain. The FBI, local police, and volunteers worked in unison, their efforts a testament to the community's resolve to bring Hannah home. The vast wilderness of Idaho, with its daunting expanse and challenging terrain, was a formidable adversary, but the determination of the search teams was unwavering. In the remote wilderness, DiMaggio and Hannah found themselves increasingly isolated. DiMaggio's plan, once seemingly foolproof, was unraveling at the seams. He became more erratic, his actions more unpredictable. Hannah, caught in this maelstrom, clung to her inner strength, her will to survive never faltering. As the search intensified, the resources of the law enforcement agencies were stretched to their limits. Helicopters buzzed overhead, their searchlights piercing through the dense canopy. Ground teams navigated the treacherous terrain, their progress slow but steady. The operation was a race against time, each second critical in the quest to save Hannah. Back in the city, the public followed the unfolding drama with bated breath. The story of Hannah's kidnapping and the subsequent manhunt had captured the nation's attention. People held vigils, prayed, and hoped for her safe return. Hannah's plight had touched the hearts of millions, her struggle for survival a poignant reminder of the strength of the human spirit. In the seclusion of the Idaho wilderness, the final act of this harrowing saga was about to unfold. DiMaggio, cornered and desperate, was unpredictable and dangerous. But the resolve of the search teams was stronger than ever. They were united in their mission, to bring Hannah home safely, to end her nightmare. As the sun rose on a new day, the search teams prepared for what they hoped would be the final push. In the distance, the sound of a helicopter echoed through the valley, a sign that the end was near. For Hannah, the sound was a beacon of hope, a signal that her ordeal might soon be over. The stage was set for a dramatic conclusion to a saga that had captivated the nation. In the dense forests of Idaho, a young girl's courage, a captor's madness, and the relentless pursuit of justice were converging. The final chapter in the search for Hannah Anderson was about to be written. As dawn's early light filtered through the dense canopy of Idaho's wilderness, the manhunt for James DiMaggio and the rescue of Hannah Anderson approached its critical juncture. The air was thick with tension, a palpable sense of urgency driving the efforts of the search teams. Hannah, though physically and emotionally exhausted, held on to a glimmer of hope. She had endured the unimaginable, her spirit tested by the ordeal of captivity and the wild unpredictability of her captor. In the silence of the forest, she listened for the signs of rescue, each sound a potential herald of freedom. DiMaggio, now a man cornered, exuded desperation. The wilderness, once his escape, had become a trap, closing in on him with each passing hour. His plans, once meticulously crafted, now lay in tatters around him. The realization that his world was crumbling seemed to only fuel his delusional resolve. In the Strategic Command Center, maps sprawled across tables and radio communications crackled with updates. The search teams coordinated their efforts. The operation was a masterclass in logistics and determination, with every available resource deployed in the hunt for DiMaggio and the safe recovery of Hannah. As the search teams closed in, a breakthrough came. An eagle-eyed helicopter pilot spotted a blue tent nestled in a secluded area near Moorhead Lake. The sighting was a ray of hope, a potential end to the exhaustive search. Ground teams were quickly dispatched, moving with stealth and precision towards the location. Hannah, sensing the change in DiMaggio's demeanor, knew that the endgame was near. His once calculated movements were now erratic, his eyes darting to and fro, haunted by the prospect of capture. In these tense moments, Hannah's thoughts turned to her family, her friends, and the life she was fighting to return to. The ground teams, expertly navigating the rugged terrain, approached the campsite with caution. Every step was measured, every movement calculated. The stakes were impossibly high. A young girl's life hung in the balance, and a dangerous man was on the brink of being cornered. In the campsite, as DiMaggio busied himself with mundane tasks, oblivious to the approaching danger, Hannah saw her opportunity. Her heart pounding, she made a subtle yet desperate gesture for help. It was a risk, but her instinct told her it was now or never. The final confrontation was swift and intense. DiMaggio, startled by the sudden appearance of the search teams, reacted with a wild, futile resistance. Shots rang out in the quiet of the forest, echoing the final act of a tragic saga. When the dust settled, Hannah was safe, her ordeal finally over. The search teams, their mission accomplished, breathed a collective sigh of relief. Hannah, though shaken and scarred by the experience, was alive. She had survived the unthinkable, her resilience a beacon of hope amidst the darkness of her captivity. As Hannah was escorted away from the scene, the reality of her rescue began to sink in. She was free, but the journey ahead would be long and challenging. The trauma of her experience would leave indelible marks, but her spirit, tested and tempered by adversity, remained unbroken. The story of Hannah Anderson's kidnapping and rescue would be told and retold, a harrowing tale of survival against the odds. It was a story of a community's resolve, a law enforcement's dedication, and above all, the unyielding strength of a young girl who faced darkness and emerged into the light. As Hannah was reunited with her father, their embrace was a powerful symbol of love and survival. The nightmare was over, but the journey of healing was just beginning. In the end, Hannah's story was one of hope, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. As the first light of dawn pierced the horizon, marking the end of a long, dark night, Hannah Anderson was finally safe. The wilderness of Idaho, which had been her prison, was now far behind her. The ordeal of her abduction and the traumatic rescue operation had come to an end, but the journey of healing was just beginning. In the aftermath of her rescue, Hannah found herself thrust into a world that was both familiar and utterly changed. Her story, a chilling saga of survival, had captured the nation's heart. While she was grateful to be alive, the weight of what she had endured lay heavily upon her. Hannah's father, Brett, was her rock in these turbulent times. His unwavering support and love provided the strength she needed to face the days ahead. Together, they navigated the complex emotions and challenges that followed. The loss of her mother and brother was a wound that would take time to heal, their absence a constant reminder of the tragedy that had befallen their family. The media frenzy surrounding her case was overwhelming. Everyone wanted to know about the girl who had survived the unthinkable. But for Hannah, the attention was a double-edged sword. While she appreciated the outpouring of support, the constant scrutiny made her feel exposed and vulnerable. In seeking normalcy, Hannah returned to school. The hallways and classrooms, once filled with the simple concerns of teenage life, now echoed with unspoken questions and curiosity. Her peers, though well-meaning, struggled to find the right words. Hannah, for her part, tried to reclaim the fragments of her old life, even as she grappled with the new realities she faced. Therapy sessions became a refuge for Hannah, a place where she could unravel her feelings without fear or judgment. Her therapist, a kind and patient listener, helped her process the trauma, guiding her through the complex maze of emotions. The sessions were challenging, often emotionally draining, but they provided a pathway to healing. The legal proceedings against DiMaggio's estate and the ensuing investigation into the events of her kidnapping were a constant backdrop to her recovery. The quest for justice was important, but it was also a painful reminder of her ordeal. Each hearing, each report, brought back memories she longed to forget. Amidst it all, Hannah found solace in writing. Her journal became a canvas for her thoughts and feelings, a safe space where she could express herself freely. Writing gave her a sense of control, an outlet to pour out the turmoil that churned within her. The support from the community was a source of comfort. Strangers sent letters and gifts, their words filled with empathy and encouragement. This outpouring of love was a balm to her wounded heart, reminding her that even in the darkest times, there is light. As the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, Hannah began to find her footing. The journey was far from easy, and there were days when the shadows of her past loomed large. But with each step, she grew stronger, her resilience a testament to her spirit. Hannah's story became a beacon of hope for others who had faced their own trials. She spoke at events, sharing her experiences and the lessons she had learned. In doing so, she transformed her ordeal into a message of strength and survival. The road to recovery was long and winding, filled with obstacles and setbacks. But Hannah Anderson, once a victim of a terrible crime, emerged as a survivor. Her story, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, continued to inspire and uplift those who heard it. In the face of adversity, Hannah had found her strength. She had walked through the fire and emerged, not unscathed, but undeniably stronger. Her journey was a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there is always a path forward, always a flicker of hope. Months had passed since Hannah Anderson's harrowing ordeal in the Idaho wilderness. The leaves had turned, and the chill of winter had settled in, mirroring the transformative journey Hannah had undergone. She had faced the depths of human cruelty and emerged not defeated, but emboldened. The path to recovery was long and fraught with challenges, but Hannah approached it with a resilience that inspired those around her. Hannah's return to a semblance of normal life was a testament to her strength. School, once a place of adolescent worries and joys, now held a different meaning. She walked the halls with a new perspective, her experiences having granted her a maturity beyond her years. Her classmates, initially unsure how to interact with her, gradually came to see her not just as a survivor of a great tragedy, but as Hannah, their friend, who had returned to them. The world outside continued to buzz with news and events, but for Hannah, the focus was on healing and rebuilding. The therapy sessions that had once seemed like a daunting task now became a source of solace and understanding. Through these sessions, Hannah began to untangle the complex emotions that the trauma had woven. She learned to face her fears, to grieve for her lost family members, and to embrace the future. Hannah's relationship with her father, Brett, deepened. They had always been close, but the ordeal had forged a new bond between them. Brett, grappling with his own grief, found strength in his daughter's courage. They supported each other, their shared experience a foundation for a renewed connection. The community played a crucial role in Hannah's recovery. The warmth and support extended to her and her father were unwavering. People who had followed her story reached out with words of encouragement, and Hannah drew strength from their kindness. This sense of community extended beyond her immediate surroundings, with letters and messages coming from across the country and even abroad. As Hannah navigated her recovery, she found a new purpose: advocacy. She became involved in organizations that supported other victims of trauma and violence. Sharing her story, she gave voice to those who had suffered in silence. She spoke at schools, community centers, and events, her message clear: there is hope after trauma, and strength can be found even in the darkest times. The legal proceedings related to her case continued, a necessary but painful reminder of her past. Hannah faced them with bravery, understanding that justice was a vital part of the healing process. The closure of the case brought a sense of finality, a closing of a chapter that had been filled with pain and loss. In her personal journey, Hannah discovered a passion for writing. What had started as a therapeutic exercise evolved into a powerful form of expression. She began working on a memoir, a project that allowed her to process her experience and share her story on her own terms. Writing became a gateway to understanding herself and her journey. As spring approached, with its promise of renewal and growth, Hannah's transformation became evident. The trauma she had endured would always be a part of her, but it did not define her. She had grown in ways she never imagined, her experiences shaping her into a person of depth, compassion, and resilience. Hannah's journey was a beacon of hope for many. Her strength in the face of adversity, her ability to find light in the darkness, and her dedication to helping others were a source of inspiration. She had walked through the storm and emerged stronger, ready to face a new beginning with courage and hope. The story of Hannah Anderson, marked by tragedy, became a narrative of triumph over adversity. As she looked to the future, she carried with her the lessons of the past, ready to embrace the possibilities that lay ahead. Her journey was a reminder that even after the darkest night, the sun rises, bringing with it the light of a new day and the promise of a new beginning. As the seasons changed, so did Hannah Anderson. With each passing day, she found new strength, channeling the pain of her past into a powerful drive for change. The scars of her ordeal were deep, but they served as a reminder of her resilience, a source of determination to make a difference in the world. Hannah's father, Brett, watched with a mix of pride and awe as his daughter transformed her traumatic experience into a force for good. Together, they formed a bond that was unbreakable, strengthened by the trials they had endured. Brett became not just a father, but a confidant and a supporter of Hannah's newfound mission. In her advocacy work, Hannah became a beacon of hope for survivors of trauma and violence. She spoke at national conferences and events, her story resonating with countless individuals who had faced their own battles. Hannah's message was clear and powerful. There is life after trauma, and one's painful past does not have to dictate the future. Her involvement with support groups and organizations brought her into contact with other survivors. These connections were deeply meaningful, offering a shared understanding and a sense of community. Hannah's empathy and genuine desire to help shone through, making her a respected and beloved figure among those she worked with. As her story continued to inspire others, Hannah was approached to participate in a documentary about her experience. The project aimed to raise awareness about abduction and its impact on victims and families. After careful consideration, Hannah agreed, seeing it as an opportunity to educate and advocate on a larger scale. The documentary, featuring her story alongside others, was widely acclaimed, further amplifying her message. Hannah's memoir, a deeply personal account of her ordeal and recovery, was nearing completion. Writing it had been a cathartic process, allowing her to reflect and find meaning in her journey. The book was eagerly anticipated, with many seeing it as a source of inspiration and understanding. In school, Hannah's experience and maturity set her apart from her peers. She found solace in her studies, particularly in psychology and criminal justice, subjects that resonated with her personal journey. Her teachers and classmates recognized her unique perspective, often seeking her input on discussions related to trauma and resilience. As she approached the end of high school, Hannah began to consider her future. Her experiences had ignited a passion for helping others and a desire to fight against injustice. She contemplated a career in psychology or law, fields where she could continue her advocacy and make a tangible impact. The community's support for Hannah never waned. Fundraisers and events were organized in her honor, with proceeds going to charities and organizations supporting trauma survivors. Hannah's story had not only touched lives, but had also mobilized people to take action and make a difference. As Hannah stood on the cusp of adulthood, she reflected on the journey she had undertaken. From a victim of a heinous crime to a survivor and advocate, she had traveled a path few could imagine. Her story was one of transformation, a testament to the human spirit's ability to overcome even the darkest adversity. Looking forward, Hannah was determined to use her experiences to create a better world. She knew the road ahead would have its challenges, but she was ready to face them with the same courage and resilience that had brought her this far. Her story was a beacon of hope and a powerful reminder that even in our darkest moments, we have the strength to rise, to heal, and to turn our pain into purpose. The end of high school marked a significant milestone for Hannah Anderson. It was not just a conclusion of her early academic journey, but also a testament to her remarkable resilience. The young woman who walked across the stage to receive her diploma was vastly different from the girl who had once been consumed by the shadows of a harrowing ordeal. In her eyes, there was a spark of determination, a clear vision of a future she was ready to embrace. As she prepared to step into the next chapter of her life, Hannah reflected on the path she had traveled. The pain and trauma that had once threatened to define her were now integral parts of her story of survival and growth. She had transformed her suffering into a source of strength, using it to fuel her passion for helping others. The decision to pursue a degree in psychology was a natural progression for Hannah. Her own experiences had given her profound insights into the human psyche, especially the impact of trauma. She was driven by a desire to understand the intricacies of the mind and to use this knowledge to aid others in their healing journeys. Hannah's advocacy work continued to flourish alongside her studies. She became a prominent voice in discussions about trauma recovery, often invited to speak at universities, seminars, and workshops. Her ability to articulate the complexities of her experience resonated with many, providing hope and guidance to those navigating their own paths of healing. The release of Hannah's memoir was met with critical acclaim and heartfelt responses from readers across the globe. Her book offered a raw and honest account of her kidnapping, the harrowing days in captivity, and her journey towards recovery. It was not just a story of survival. It was a beacon of hope for anyone who had ever faced adversity. In university, Hannah found a supportive and engaging environment. Her professors recognized her unique perspective and encouraged her to delve deeper into areas of study that intersected with her experiences. Her classmates were drawn to her strength and wisdom, often seeking her advice and support. Hannah's work in trauma advocacy brought new opportunities. She collaborated with nonprofit organizations to develop programs for trauma survivors, focusing on empowerment and resilience. Her hands-on approach and personal insights added a depth to these initiatives that only someone with her experience could provide. Throughout her journey, Hannah's relationship with her father remained a cornerstone of her life. Brett Anderson had been her steadfast support through the darkest times, and now he watched with pride as his daughter made a meaningful impact in the world. Their bond, forged in adversity, was a source of strength for them both. As Hannah's influence grew, she became a role model for many, especially young people who had faced their own challenges. Her story was a testament to the fact that it's not the events of our lives that define us, but how we respond to them. She inspired others to find strength in their struggles and to turn their pain into a force for positive change. Embracing the future, Hannah stepped forward with a sense of purpose. She knew the road ahead would have its challenges, but she was equipped with the knowledge, experience, and resilience to face them. Her journey had shown her the depth of human suffering, but also the incredible capacity for recovery, growth, and transformation. Hannah Anderson's story was no longer just about survival. It was about thriving in the face of adversity. As she looked towards the horizon, she did so with hope, determination, and an unwavering commitment to make a difference in the world. Her journey continued, not just as a tale of overcoming, but as a living, breathing example of the power of the human spirit to prevail, heal, and soar beyond the confines of past traumas. Years had passed since Hannah Anderson's life was irrevocably changed. She had journeyed through the depths of despair and risen to heights of advocacy and personal achievement. Now, as she stood on the threshold of a new chapter, she carried with her the wisdom gained from her experiences, a beacon for others facing their dark times. Hannah's work in the field of psychology had blossomed. With her degree in hand, she was not just a survivor telling her story. She was a professional equipped with the knowledge to make a tangible difference. Her focus was on trauma therapy, offering guidance and support to those who had walked paths similar to hers. Her approach was empathetic, informed by her own journey, making her an invaluable ally to those in the process of healing. Her advocacy work had taken her across the country and beyond. Hannah was no longer just a speaker. She was a leader in the conversation about trauma, resilience, and recovery. She worked closely with various organizations, shaping policies and programs designed to support survivors. Her insights and contributions were not just valued, they were transformative. The memoir that Hannah had penned became a cornerstone of her legacy. It was used in therapy sessions, support groups, and psychology classes, helping others understand the complexities of trauma and the journey towards healing. Her story had become a tool for change, a means to educate and inspire. In her personal life, Hannah had found balance. She cultivated relationships that were rooted in mutual respect and understanding. Her bond with her father remained strong, a testament to their shared experience and enduring love. Together, they had turned their pain into purpose, each supporting the other in their individual journeys. Hannah's role as a public figure brought with it a responsibility, one that she embraced wholeheartedly. She used her platform to advocate for mental health awareness, pushing for societal changes in how trauma and mental health were perceived and addressed. Her voice was a powerful one, calling for compassion, understanding, and systemic change. As she looked to the future, Hannah was filled with a sense of hope. She had plans to expand her work, considering the possibility of opening her own practice or creating a foundation dedicated to supporting trauma survivors. Her vision was clear: to create a world where the scars of trauma were met with support, understanding, and pathways to healing. The legacy Hannah was building was not just about her story. It was about the stories of all those she touched. She had become a symbol of hope and resilience, proof that even the deepest wounds could be the source of great strength and positive change. Her journey had taught her that healing was not a destination, but a process. It was about finding light in the darkness, strength in vulnerability, and purpose in pain. Hannah's story was a reminder to all that even in the face of overwhelming adversity, there is a path forward. As the sun set on this chapter of her life, Hannah Anderson stood tall, a survivor transformed into a beacon of hope. Her legacy was not defined by the trauma she endured, but by the lives she touched and the change she inspired. Her journey continued, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit and the unbreakable will to not just survive, but thrive. Hannah's story was a beacon of hope, a narrative of triumph over adversity, and a legacy of resilience and love.